Alright, today we're going to continue chapter 8. We're going to talk about how to solve inequalities. Yesterday we looked at just how to work with inequalities, how to write out an inequality based off a sentence, a verbal sentence, and we looked at how to graph those as well. Okay, so really when you solve an inequality, it's the same idea as solving an equation, right? The only difference, the only rule that you kind of need to remember would be this. And that's whenever you multiply or divide both sides by a negative, I would write this down. This would be a great thing to put on your cheat sheet. Does anyone know what happens when you multiply or divide both sides by a negative?
It's always, if it's two different sides, it's going to be a negative.
Well, that is true, but I mean especially for an inequality. Okay, somebody tell me what that means. When I multiply or divide both sides by a negative, I must reverse the inequality. What does that mean to reverse the inequality?
Makes the other number bigger.
Well, I mean, it's essentially the same as the reciprocal, right? But it's an inequality sign, so if it starts as less than, you would just flip it, right? Flip it to greater than. So be careful, you have to do that on both sides. Not if one side is negative and you multiply both sides by a positive, that doesn't happen. It's just if you multiply or divide both sides by a negative number, then you have to reverse that inequality sign, okay? We'll start with an easy one. Okay, so if I solve these exactly like I would solve an equation, what would be the only step I would have to do here to get p by itself? Plus 14, right? Whatever's with the variable, we're going to do the opposite. So if I add 14 to both sides, that would give me p is greater than what?
26.
Okay? Now, here's where it's different from an equation. When it's an equation, and you do your check, you just plug in the number that you get, right? But can I plug in 26 for p here?
No.
Why, Easton?
Because you have to use any number greater than 26.
Okay, give me a number greater than 26.
28.
All right? So 28 minus 14 should be greater than 12. What is 28 minus 14?
14.
Is 14 greater than 12?
Yes.
Yes. So it checks. I'm good to go. All right? Can you choose any number that you want?
No. Well, yeah,
Well,
above.
Yes.
Yes and
Above
no.
the-
Why no,
Oh,
Gunner?
It has to fit the.
Yeah, it does have to be greater than 26, but can I choose any number that is greater than 26?
Yes.
Yes. Okay? I wouldn't go crazy on that. Like, I wouldn't start choosing numbers in the thousands, right? But just choose a number that's bigger than that. Okay? All right. Let's do 13 minus 3n is less than negative 8. Okay? Can anybody tell me here what would be my first step? Gunner?
Subtract 13.
Why would I not add 13, Gunner?
Because the number is positive.
Good, because the opposite of 13 would be negative 13. Okay, so that cancels. What would it leave me with, Gunner?
3n is less than.
Not 3n.
Negative.
Yep, don't forget that negative sign, okay?
Is equal to. Less than.
You're fine.
21. Negative 21.
Good. Okay. All right, Gage, what would I do next?
Divide by negative 3.
Okay, Gage, right? What did I just do on both sides?
You divided
By a negative. What should you do when you divide both sides by a negative?
flip this inequality.
Flip your inequality. So now it's going to be n greater than what?
7.
7. Okay. All right, Bailey, give me any number that's greater than 7. Okay. All right. What is 3 times 15?
45.
So I have 13 minus 45 should be less than negative 8. What is 13 minus 45?
No, 30. Negative 30. 20.
7.
Negative.
Negative 20. I don't
Negative.
know.
Negative 32. Yeah, negative 32.
Thanks, Gabe. Okay. Is negative 32 less than negative 8?
Yes.
Yes, because it's further from 0. All right, so we check there. We're in good shape. Okay. All right. Somebody want to try this one? Okay. Go. Cage. Somebody might want to turn that off. Just check it. Say again.
Plus 6.
Okay. All right. What would that give you, Cage?
Negative 3/4 D, and is greater than or equal to 15.
All right. What would I do next, Cage?
Divide negative 3/4.
True. Dividing by a fraction is the same as doing what?
Multiplying by sides.
Okay, so let's multiply both sides by negative 4/3. What happens anytime you multiply both sides by a negative, Cage? What do you have to remember to do? Remember the rule I told you at the very beginning? If you multiply both sides by a negative,
Change the inequality.
change the inequality. So now instead of G is greater than or equal to, I would say D is less than or equal to. What happens with 15 and 3?
They simplify.
To 1 and
5.
5. What is 5 times negative 4?
20.
Negative 20. So I get D is less than negative 20. Okay? Yeah, less than or equal to 20. Okay? All right. Somebody give me a number that I can plug in for D.
Negative 20.
Okay? All right, so let's, negative 3/4 times negative 20 minus 6 greater than or equal to 9. Now, what is, this can simplify, right, to 1 and 5. What's negative 3 times negative 5?
Negative 15.
What?
Negative 15.
Negative times negative is a positive. What's 15 minus 6?
9.
Is 9 greater than or equal to 9? Yes, because it's equal to. Remember when it says greater than or equal to, that doesn't mean it has to be both, just one or the other. Okay? All right, I'm going to look at one more before I show you a couple word problems. Let's do negative 4/5 greater than or equal to 4/9 C. Okay, Easton, I only have one step here to get C by itself. What would it be?
To multiply by 9/4.
Okay,
No, because you multiply by a positive number.
do I flip the inequality here? Yes or no?
No.
No.
Right? So here's what I was talking about, Stone. Just because you have a negative on this side, did I multiply both sides by a negative? No, right? I multiplied both sides by a positive, so your inequality stays the same. What can you simplify here?
4 and 4.
So you would get what?
9/5. Negative 9.
Okay, which would be negative 1 and 4/5. Okay? Now, here's where you have to be careful, right? Notice your variable is on the right side and not the left. So, when I plug in a number, what type of number am I plugging in? One that is
Negative mix.
bigger than negative 1 and 4/5 or smaller?
Smaller.
Why less than or equal to, Nathan?
Because it has the line under it, so it's equal to, and it's less.
But why less than? Because I'm looking at
Maybe we're talking about.
because you're looking at the variable, right? So if you want to write the variable first, how would I write that? I would say C is less than or equal to negative 1 and 4/5. You don't have to rewrite that every time. On your answers, like when we grade tomorrow, it will always have the variable first, okay? But you just need to be careful if you're going to plug in a value here. The mouth is closed to the variable, so you're choosing a number that's less than negative 1 and 4/5, okay? So somebody give me a number that is less than negative 1 and 4/5.
Negative 1 and 3/5.
Gunner.
Negative 2 and 4/5.
Okay, or you could even just go with negative 2 because we're multiplying. Okay, so let's just do negative 2. I'm going to put it over 1. All right? What's negative, or what's 4/9 times negative 2 over 1?
Negative 8 over 1.
Now, what's the only problem here with my check?
There's no variable. Or,
Do we know for sure which fraction is smaller?
no.
What could you do? You have two options.
Change the denominator. Make it into decimal.
Either change the denominator or change it to a decimal, right?
Just find a common denominator.
Okay, what's common denominator, Stone?
45.
Okay. What's 9 times 4?
36.
36.
What's 8 times 5?
40.
Okay. Is negative 36 greater than negative 40?
Yes.
Okay, so we're okay. All right.
Yes.
Okay, any questions on those? Okay, thanks for volunteering, Stone. You can do the next question. While you're writing it down. All right, so the quotient of a number and negative 3 is greater than the quotient of 5 and 6. Okay, first thing you're going to have to do, Stone, is set up an inequality. Can you tell me what it would be?
The number in 3, it'll be x divided by 3.
How would I show that?
X over 3 or negative 3.
Okay,
And then is greater than. And then 30.
what?
30.
Why 30?
5 over 6.
There we go. Right, quotient means division. We show division using a fraction. So when it says number in 3, we just divide the number by negative 3. Same thing on the other side. Okay? All right, Lucas, how would I solve for x?
Common denominators.
Nope, not adding. Common denominator is only if you add. I'm trying to solve for x. How can I get x by itself?
3
Remember, if you're trying to get a variable away from a number that are together, use opposite operations. What's the opposite of the operation you see?
multiply by negative 3.
There we go.
I was trying to say like 3 over x.
Okay, so that cancels. Lucas, what did I just do on both sides?
Multiply by negative.
So that means to do what?
You can flip the inequality.
Thanks, Lucas. Okay, what is 5 over 6 times negative 3 over 1? Anybody?
5 over 2.
Negative 5 over 2. What is that as a mixed number?
Negative 1. Negative
2 and a half.
1.5.
Okay. Everybody okay with that? All right, last one. What? No. That's right, I do. Go ahead, Nick. Okay, remember first, you have to set up an inequality, okay? So what would be my inequality, Nate?
X minus 15 is less than or equal to -8.
Why would you say less than or equal to?
Because no more than.
Means
so
that it
can be the
can't,
same.
yes, and it means that it can't go over that number, okay? All right, all I'd have to do here to solve is what?
Add 15.
Add 15. I would get x is less than or equal to,
7. Wait. Yeah, 7.
okay, very good. Any questions? Here's the deal. Isn't this exactly like what we've been doing almost this whole chapter, right? The only thing, the biggest mistake I will see is people that don't flip their inequality when you both multiply or divide both sides by a negative, okay? So make sure as you're going through and you're doing your homework, either you write that at the top somewhere that you're going to remember to do that. Okay, on this, we are doing every other even.
For every, like, both?
Yeah, for both sets. Okay, make sure you show that you solve and check. The only ones that you wouldn't have to do a check on are the ones that you write the inequality, because if you write the inequality wrong, your check's not going to matter. Yes?